Lou here. With Valentine's Day being a few days away, and I always like to highlight this time of year as a lover of romance media myself, I thought it'd be fun to take a look at some romance anime. This is Top 5 Classic Romance Anime. Major spoiler warning for the video on this list, by the way, so if you haven't seen the anime listed yet, follow the chapter time code down below in the description and in this video to skip it. With that warning, let's start. At number 5, we have Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. Now this is a really great romance anime that really reboots classic shoujo tropes from the early 2000s. From supernatural to a little sprinkle of possible forbidden love, Hanako-kun is a really great romance, especially for anime fans who prefer really cutesy characters with some fucked up shit going on the more you read it. The reason why it's at number 5 is that despite being a clear romance between Hanako and Nene, the series does shift to a focus on other spirits in the school and the backstory for how Hanako became a ghost. Think of this like Inuyasha, where obviously Kagome and Inuyasha were the romantic pairing, but there was a heavy focus on Inuyasha's past and the world around him. Although Nene and Hanako are 15, they act just a little younger than their ages, so there's a little bit of that puppy love trope going on too. Overall, I highly recommend Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, though I do have to warn, there is some dark subjects brought up later in the manga, like murder and taking their own life, so I just want to warn because that could be a very triggering subject. At number 4, we have Cardcaptor Sakura. Now, Cardcaptor Sakura is a unique romance because although the romance is very heavily there, the main issue is that the romance isn't as explicit as other anime on this list because Sakura and Shaolan are so young in the series. I mean, Sakura starts this series at 10 years old, and it's only recently in the Clear Card anime that she's just starting high school, where her relationship with Shaolan is a little more mature in that they go on dates and hold hands. Despite their young age, I think this is an adorable series, and one that's really relaxing to binge watch, though it does have a tendency to have a lot of filler, but in the case of binging, it's not really a bad thing. I also highly recommend the second movie as well if you want a better conclusion to the anime, and it has one of the cutest endings I've ever seen. Though, Cardcaptor Sakura does have some very yikes age gaps. Sakura's mom was 16 when she married Sakura's dad, and in the manga, one of Sakura's 10-year-old classmates ends up dating her teacher, so that's fucking yikes. Luckily, the second ship is not in the anime series and is just brushed under the rug in Clear Card, so that's good at least that this is not a huge issue you'll be dealing with as you're trying to enjoy some puppy love and magical girl hijinks in the anime. Overall, a very soft and slow burn romance, but very cute. At number 3, we have Ouran High School Host Club. Now, why isn't Ouran higher? We all know Ouran Host Club is amazing. At the time of its release, Ouran Host Club was one of the very few reverse harem anime, as well as a reverse harem that would subvert the genre. Not just subvert the genre, but have very open LGBTQ+ characters. From Haruhi being some spectrum of non-binary or gender fluid, Haruhi's dad being bisexual and a crossdresser, and pretty much the entire female cast of Ouran being bisexual. In the manga, when everyone finds out Haruhi was a girl the whole time, pretty much all the female host club attendants knew, so that's pretty surprising. Anyway, the reason it's at number 3 is mostly because Ouran never finished telling the manga's story, and some moments honestly did not age well in 2022. From the awful beach episode with the Kyoya quote fan service, the Lobelia girls basically being Twitter SJWs, and dialogue in the English dub using outdated and hurtful terms to the trans community. Other than that, Ouran Host Club is a really awesome romance series and really unique for an early 2000s romance, but just be warned that there will be outdated terms in the English dub. Possibly the subtitles, but I've never fully watched the subtitled version. At number 2, we have Fruits Basket. Now, obviously, Fruits Basket is one of my favorite anime of all time, so there's definitely a bit of a bias here. But it is genuinely a very beautiful and well-written romance. A lot of romance revolves around two people learning to develop and grow from their own trauma to find themselves, to open and accept love, which is honestly a pretty realistic way to write a romance. Toru and Kyo, Yuki and Machi, and even Hatsuharu and Rin are some of the cutest and well-written couples in romance anime, period. On top of being well-written, I do have to warn that all the romance is slow burn for obvious reasons, because it's not exactly easy to force a one-and-done romance when you have characters traumatized by family abuse, you know? Though if you are going to watch Fruits Basket, I do have to warn here, there is heavy themes of generational trauma, family abuse, gaslighting, neglect, and mental illness throughout Fruits Basket. If any of those themes make you uncomfortable or hit too close to home, I cannot really recommend this series, but if you're okay with it, this is truly a gorgeous series. There's also a major age gap warning, as Toru's mom was 14 when she started dating her substitute teacher, and Toru's friend Uo is also dating a guy who's a decade older than her when she's 17, so that's yikes. If you are confused on whether or not to start the 2001 or the reboot anime, I personally recommend the reboot. If you want a comparison though, I actually have a comparison video on my channel between the 2001 Fruits Basket and the reboot. Overall, Fruits Basket is a genuinely gorgeous and classic anime series. Honorable mentions! These are classic anime that either I'm not a big fan of, or something I would have personally put on a top 10 list. Which, yes, I know is a little biased, but we gotta highlight the best of the best, fam. Clannad. I don't personally ship Tomoya and Nagisa because I find them to be a very uninteresting couple, and Nagisa is kind of just a ticking time bomb waiting to die the second a tree falls down. But Clannad is a classic romance, and I can't just ignore its existence because I don't like the canon pairing. Also, I just really love that entire part of After Story with Tomoya and Ushio. We don't get a lot of single father anime stories that don't end in incest, so I really love that part. Inuyasha. I haven't seen Inuyasha since I was like 7, but I still highly recommend this series. It's a staple of classic romance anime and has a really wonderfully 90s art style that is just so adorable. I also recommend this for fans of Demon Slayer and want a series with a similar aesthetic. I mean, Inuyasha takes place during the Sengoku period, and Demon Slayer takes place during the Taisho period, but I think the setting of a past Japan that involves the main cast hunting monsters associated with classic Japanese mythology is a pretty good similarity to recommend it to one fan of the other, you know? Nana. I know it's not exactly a romance when the focus is more on the friendship between the two Nanas, but honestly, I love this series and its realistic portrayal of friendship, breakups, cheating, and more. It is technically an anti-romance series, but the two Nanas do experience romantic love in their own ways too. If you're someone who wants a more realistic romance, or maybe something a lot more mature than a lot of the anime on this list, I highly recommend Nana. It's an amazing series to me, but it is unfinished as it was put on permanent hiatus by the manga creator, so the story has no ending, unfortunately. And now to number 1, the moment you've all been waiting for. Number 1, Sailor Moon. A classic romance series. How can I not put it here? Not just having one of the sweetest romantic couples in anime, being Usagi and Mamoru, but just like Ouran, there is a large amount of LGBTQ+ characters and representation. I know it seems silly to have some people bring this up, but that is important as people of all walks of life deserve to be shown on screen. Just as a heads up, by the way, because no one's really mentioned it, but when people talk about the quote censorship in the English dub, they're talking about the English dub from the 90s that was heavily censored and was basically given the full 4Kids treatment. And the one that I highly recommend people watching if they want to see a Sailor Moon English dub is the one from Viz Media, as it is extremely accurate and does not censor a single thing. Not only is it a fantastic romance with great characters, but has some impressive lore. Can we talk about the aesthetics? Oh my gosh, the aesthetics are so gorgeous. If you ever want to know where like the peachy pastel galaxy theme comes from lately that you've seen on TikTok and other places, it definitely comes from Sailor Moon, and you can't convince me otherwise. Seriously, Sailor Moon is a staple of romance anime. This is like My Hero Academia of romance. If you haven't seen it, oh my gosh, you absolutely have to. It's an icon for a reason, and that's because the story and characters are charming beyond words. Now, some people are confused on how to start Sailor Moon and whether or not the 90s anime or Crystal is the place to start. I say that depends on how you enjoy the pacing of anime. If you enjoy a quick pacing, watch the Crystal reboot, and if you enjoy a slower pacing, then watch the classic 90s anime. Personally, I have to admit that I hold a lot of nostalgia for the 90s anime, but I think Crystal is pretty good outside of Season 2. Enough about me gushing over Sailor Moon though. What did you guys think of this video? Do you have a classic romance anime you love? Let me know down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!